Hi, you're listening to Playing Out from the Bar. Please be aware this podcast contains strong language.
Alright everyone, welcome back to Playing Out from the Bar. Once again, I'm in the virtual bar with Lewis Dawson and Lewis Tricey. How are we doing, gents? Have we had a good week?
Go on, Dobby, tears off, mate. Go. Hi Jack, hi Doss.
Sorry, I always forget to say who I'm coming to first. I just like to sort of create that corridor of uncertainty between you both.
When we can eventually record in person, like, we'll miss them. That awkward 3 seconds where you're like trying to anticipate, lip read on the video call if someone's going to go.
Should we still just keep it going anyway and just like, when I say it in person, you two will just look at each other?
Sad for 3 seconds.
The thing is, like, it's funny because like we're both polite with it, but then also like the next time it happens, me and Dobby will speak at the same time, 100%.
Tripping over.
Yeah, definitely.
The inconsistencies of amateur podcasts.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's expecting us to have a good quality intro by this point, so it's all good. I'll come to you first then, Dobby. What have you got anything from the bar this evening?
Yeah, I'm on a Corona. It was a bit of a scare. I'm not saying scare, that's a bit drastic, but didn't think we had anything in, but managed to find a couple of bottles lying around.
The classic
the
Dawson last minute reach around in the fridge.
Yeah. I thought it would save me a trip to Tesco, but managed to find a couple of bottles of just random stuff lying around. So yeah, I've got a Corona for now, and then I've got a Cause lined up for afterwards, and then who knows what after that.
Who knows for part 3. I mean, that's a nice summer's drink as well. I associate Corona with the good weather we've been having the last few days.
I know, it's been nice, hasn't it? So that's been lifted some spirits. It's been brilliant to just get outdoors and get some sunlight, and like the lockdown walks have a little bit more like enjoyment to them at the minute.
Giving it that extra 5%.
Yeah.
Tricey, what about yourself, mate?
Yeah, important things. I have on the chinwag again tonight, actually. So I've still got a crate to get through, and I'm just not drinking as much as usual. So yeah, chinwag, Northern Whisper tonight. But similar to what Dobby said, really, it's just nice to have so British, but it's nice to have some sun.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I don't want to be that guy
last
already.
3 days. That could be it now.
Yeah,
for the rest
it
of the
was
year.
warm. It
I'm
was
in shorts
warm.
now.
Possibly too warm. I might say that already.
I mean,
I don't know. I think it plays into like the whole sort of thing at the minute, though. Like a bit of nice weather, vaccinations going well. It just feels like we're heading to a bit of normality, really. A bit more positive about, we can now see people in the garden or park bench or whatever. But I think it's a bit more positive than what it has been in the past. Certainly when we started this podcast, I think things are moving forward now, which is good.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think like it's funny, over the last month or so, never in my life before have I just been, like you can see the nights like staying lighter longer, and it's like the weather's getting slowly better, and you're just genuinely like, oh, it's just for some reason exciting and a sign of like there's better times to come. And it's like, when the fuck have I ever been asked about like it getting dark at 6 p.m. rather than 5 p.m? But no, the nice weather is a big bonus. I agree. It definitely feels like we're heading in like the right direction to get a bit of normality back.
It does. We're completely. I'm convinced we're on the way up now, boys. We're on the home straight of this. Definitely on the way back to something. Hopefully, a bit more of a better summer for us than last year. Although I was thinking that last time, I don't mean to stay on the weather chat, but last time the nights were this early is when we were just starting our dip into the podcast waters, and we were starting our first series. And actually, I sort of briefly listened back to the start of one of our earlier episodes this week, and I'd forgotten how Dobby for those first few weeks you were basically on car phone. Sounded like you were calling from on 606, didn't it?
Yeah,
you were
on the
for a late night
motorway,
ride.
on the M1, on Bluetooth headphones.
It sounded like you were at the wheel going down on a long drive, which, yeah. So, I mean, one day I'll go back and edit them and try and improve the quality, or maybe we could just re-record your entire script from those first few episodes. But, yeah.
It shows the journey we've been on. We need to keep it.
It
Shows
does. And now we're coming through that again, I feel. So we're even looking at potentially recording a few in person down the line, which would be nice. But anyway, yeah. Have we got anything from our week specifically to add to that, boys, or are we just? I mean, I personally, I got back into playing football this week. It's been the first week we've been allowed to take part in team sports again. So that was sort of the highlight for my week. 5 minutes
what
in.
What was you doing? Training or five-a-side?
It was just your classic six-a-side, Dobby. Not power league, but a version of that. And
if you have a shot on numbers, give me a ring. Make the drive over from Leeds.
Might be a long trip over for a 20-minute game of football.
Yeah.
With a rotation.
Tell you what, I missed
system in
them.
place.
I missed that whole faffing about on a Wednesday at 6 p.m. You've got a game that evening and you'd
panic stations to get to the pitch.
You're literally texting anyone you know, fancy playing tonight. You end up with someone's mate's mate there. You don't particularly know.
God, we've done that a fair few times. I was the only thing I was going to say was that we didn't have a particularly great game. We were beaten 3-0, but about 3 minutes in, I immediately got a ball straight in the area where you don't want to get hit by the ball, and I had to sort of hobble off for a minute. And even when I was sat on the sidelines recovering from that blow, I was still thinking, it's just good to be back. This is what it's all about. So so that was my positive from this week. But do either
you just needed some AstroTurf knee burns to seal it off.
Oh yeah, I managed to avoid that actually. I managed to avoid the mucky knees.
That'd have been a nice welcome back.
Yeah, that's the classic. I'm still a bit. This is 2 days later now, and I'm still a bit stiff. That first game back after ages, and you just can't walk for the next couple of days.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, nice one, mate.
So that was all good. That was a highlight. A weird. I can't believe that has now become a highlight. That's how much the world's changed in the past year. But anyway, do either of you two have anything to add, or do you want me to move on?
I guess for me, on a more personal note, nothing drastic, don't worry. But tomorrow's my last day at my current job, my current employer. So I'm moving roles. So finish tomorrow, and then I've got a week off, and then start my new job. So yeah, it's weird, exciting, but
end of an
era.
A
bit oh no, wait, shit! No, tomorrow's not my last day. It's next week. No, sorry.
In fairness,
how did I get that wrong?
By the time this podcast comes out, tomorrow probably will be your last day. So based on my
it's a good job I reminded myself
releasing skills. But
I'd have been feet up next Tuesday.
I hope you've not booked anything for next week that you're now going to have to rearrange.
No.
You definitely
no, I've just it just slipped my mind this afternoon. I think it's because the bank holiday weekend obviously feels like we're going to have a good time period off, and I think I just got mixed up. So I'll go back for 4 days and I finish, and then I move. Then I'll have a week off. Which coincides with the pubs, with the outdoor boozing
it does, doesn't it?
being a thing. So that's going to be a good week. So yeah, Monday, 9 a.m. newspaper.
But what's it like for you
outside the local
in cities though? Do you have to book? I mean, and they're all mad bookings for April and everything?
Yeah, it's too structured. Got a booking for a couple coming up. Even for outdoors, and you literally got to plan your day out from 12 midday. So you've got to predict kind of what the weather's going to be, where you need to be, how long.
That's it. This is the thing that I didn't miss
annoying.
from last summer when there was that initial unlock. I was just like, oh no, I can't be doing with that. But I suppose it's better than nothing, definitely. Yeah. Good stuff, Dobby. Tricey, have you got anything to add, mate?
Not really. No, I went into the office last week for 1 day, and it was a bit of a blessing, to be honest. It felt, without sounding like one of them sort of weird people that likes going to work all the time, but yeah, it was nice. It was a nice change.
I bet. I mean, again, it's you wouldn't have thought that a year ago now, but you get to the point where you're missing it almost. Did you see any colleagues or?
Yeah, there was a few others in, socially distanced, obviously, disclaimer. But yeah, it was nice to just have some conversation with other people, really.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff. I can imagine that been a nice return for you. Just a bit of housekeeping before we go into sort of the meat of tonight's episode. Tricey, you've been running. Well, I mean, a disclaimer. I'm kind of outing you as the organizer for this, but we've been running a little competition, haven't we, on the socials? I mean, do you want to say who we've teamed up with? I mean, is that the correct phrase? I don't know if I should be saying that. We've teamed up with them. Would they want
crimes? I won't go. The company we have messaged and said, let's do things together, is called Sports Club Maps, and basically what they do is just take, graphic design and locations across the world and put like all the football teams in there. So some really cool ones for like London and the UK, and the German ones look really good. How he's done it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to give one away to someone on our social channels. So have a look at it and like the post, and then just share it. Really, follow us. That's the terms for entry, and they are like really, check them out. Sports Clubs Maps. I'm a proper geek with things like that, and in my head, I'm thinking that if I got like a man cave, that's the type of thing that I would put on the wall.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Wallpaper.
They look great. They look absolutely brilliant. These
they
maps.
do. Yeah.
I was thinking we need a
from me.
complimentary one set about after the conversation about the London clubs from a few weeks ago. I feel like we might need Dobby to get a London map. Yeah. Sorry, go on, Dos.
I was going to say, can you ask for a bespoke made map? So could you go to them and say, I want one for Lincolnshire, and he'll get your Lincolnshire teams on there. There'll only be the demand for one person would buy that map.
Us three, and that'll be it.
Yeah, it's. I don't want to put my neck on the line, but I think they do, because they don't just do like country ones. There was one earlier, and it was like Berlin, I think, possibly. So if you can do Berlin, I'm sure they could do Lincolnshire.
Nice.
Yeah,
I think anyway. Just check it out. Just have a bit more of a research on it. But yeah, they do look really smart, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'd definitely encourage everyone to get involved with that. We've already had quite a bit of response, but I think you'll still have a good chance of winning if you do enter. I wasn't going to do a social corner this week, actually, because I was just going to move on to the topic of the episode, which I'll get to in a minute. But then a last-minute entry. We've had Dobby, you've got one last-minute entry, and I've got one, but they're sort of similar. So do you want to go for yours?
Yeah, sure. So anybody who follows on Twitter might have actually seen that we retweeted this 3 days ago, and Dundalk FC over in Ireland have basically released a video announcing their newest signing, Han Jong-woo has moved to Dundalk from the K-League. I'm not sure what team, but over from the Korean League, and they've got a promo video to accompany it. And the best way I can describe this is Han, kind of dotted around the city, basically stood in front of like murals with some local lingo written on them, and it's just got him like quoting the saying, just speaking down the camera with some quite like intense background music to it as well. So one of them says like, "Well, what's the crack?" and then the other one's like, "Come on, the boys." So yeah, it's just Korean Han just quoting a load of Dundalk lingo, but just a funny move and a very funny video to accompany it, really. So definitely check that out if you've not seen it already, because that'll make you laugh. But I wish him all the best. I hope he settles into the local area quite well, and they'll take him in as one of their own.
I mean, judging by the reactions to the tweet, the fans seem to be like, he's already on board. Someone responded with, haha, yes, Han, and then hashtag Mon the town. And then someone responded to that with, he already speaks better English than half the boys in the shed, which is just great opening for him. So it seems like he's onto a winner already, I think.
One of the quotes was, "That's deadly, so is it?" And I just don't, God knows what that means, but I mean, he's probably thinking, "What the fuck?" But he seems chuffed.
I mean, yeah, I'd definitely encourage anyone to watch that. I'm also going to put on our Twitter account the if anyone's not seen it, the Montrose signing unveiling, which is a video along the lines of the Masked Singer from ITV, which is definitely also well worth a watch. But I'm not sure it can outdo our Korean export to Dundalk. I think we'll move on to our main topic tonight, which is a bit of a weird one for us, really. It's kind of a running theme for the series. Basically, we're inviting everyone, not just ourselves, but everyone who listens, to have this podcast as an opportunity to put together a sort of Room 101 for football, for just any shit that we want to get rid of from football. We're going to be putting into Room 101. I mean, I've not, similar to a question of sport, I've not checked out whether, there's any rights issue here or any copyright with the original Room 101. But I mean, the show's not on TV anymore, so I'm sure they're all right with it. But go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, no one's going to listen. I don't think anyone who is a corporate lawyer that wants to sue us that happens to listen, just have a day off, cut us some slack.
Anyone who's legally involved with Room 101, despite the fact it's not currently airing anymore, then just send me an email and we'll work something out.
The question, Jack, was going to be like, are they all going to go in, or are we going to pick one? How's it going to work? Do you think?
Well, I kind of had us down as sort of a magistrate's court, if you like. The three of us would form a 3-person panel, and together we would vote. Do we want to put it into Room 101 or not? I mean, I don't know how that sounds with you two.
Okay. Yeah. So potentially everything mentioned could go in and be removed from the game of football in our eyes. Okay.
We're saying no suggestions are off the table. We want this to be a safe space where any fans can come to us with anything at all that's been bugging them about modern football or old football or any sort of football really, and just it's on the table for discussion. I think we've all got an initial suggestion to put forward tonight, and maybe we'll choose one of the 3 things we decide about to go in. But just as a side note as well, because I know speaking of the original Room 101 on TV, that they originally courted controversy. I saw this earlier when in one of the first episodes, Anne Robinson tried to put the Welsh into Room 101, which created a big stir on the other side of the border. So
disgraceful.
I just want to say for the record now, there'll be no xenophobic suggestions on our version of the of Room 101. But yeah, we'll try and avoid any controversy along those lines. Do either of you two want to kick us off tonight?
We've got a bit of correspondence actually. Do you want to start there?
Yeah. Go. Let's hear from the listeners first, Trice, because I want this to be sort of something that everyone can get involved in. That's a good idea.
So the one that made me laugh first was Zav, one of our mates, who is a hardcore Man United fan, and his Room 101 was, in fairly obvious fashion, was Leeds, Man City and Liverpool just been which made me think, like, rival clubs, could we develop that and to put it in there? But then I was thinking, personally, I think they're the better games. Like, Grimsby are at the bottom of the Football League at the minute, and I don't want them to go out the Football League because you don't want to be playing, MK Dons for the rest of the season. So, yeah, you want to play the teams around you. We've already touched on that a little bit. So, I mean, what do you two think?
Yeah.
The issue, I can see where Zav's coming from. It's the issue is how boring would, if they weren't there. What would a lot of fans do? Like, that's the main buzz for them. Those big rivalries, like, they'd just be eternally bored if those clubs didn't exist. So.
Yeah. I think we've touched on it before, haven't we? It's always nice for the first season or two when you see some of your rivals struggling, and then I think after 2 or 3 seasons, it's like Norwich at home on today. I'd much rather be playing like one of my local rivals where you actually you're quite up for it and you're really invested in it. So yeah, for me it don't make it in, but No one's have, and I know where that's coming from.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
And
Go on, Troy.
another one was selfie sticks and selfies at grounds, particularly at top clubs. This was from Josh.
Oh no, this is a big one. This has got to be, for me. This is a red line. I think this is close to going in.
See, well, my view is right. I get it's not great like when you're watching a Premier League game and there's loads there, but we can't have it both ways. Where like Brits go watch Borussia Dortmund and Sparta Prague and stuff like that, and take not with selfie sticks, but would take selfies. And I think it's one of them where it's a bit like you can't, you've got to have both or none type thing. So that's my view,
point.
and that.
It sounds like Tricey,
Selfie sticks can be put in.
Yeah, just get rid of the selfie entirely, and then it's like problem solved almost. Do you think our fans' behaviour abroad is as embarrassing as like certain fans coming over here with that culture?
No, I don't think you see English people going to watch like Jadon Sancho and wearing full England kit and like England flags. Like on 2 rows in a Borussia Dortmund. So I don't think it's as embarrassing, but I mean, just culturally different, I guess.
Yeah, I've experienced it in Newcastle before, which is a tolerant crowd, but I remember there were two. I mean, I don't know whether they were just Asian. They possibly were students. They were quite young, and they were just really excited when Yoshiri Muto, the Japanese striker, we brought him off the bench, and bless them, they were a few rows in front of me, and they were so excited when he got brought on the sub. They just started standing up and celebrating it like it was a goal. I'm sure I might have already told this on this podcast.
Yeah.
But they were told in no uncertain terms to sit down quickly.
There's just so much value in having like a squad player like Asian. Because the amount of like just cash that will generate if you get a Japanese player or a Korean player or like a Chinese player, like there's just so many people over there that are really invested in like the Premier League. Like when I was in Korea actually, and Son had just kind of moved over to Tottenham, whenever I spoke to like them over there, like who do you support? They'd always be like, oh, I supported so and so. Like I support Chelsea, but now I actually support Spurs because of Son, because they obviously absolutely love him because he's a brilliant footballer. And so the whole country there is now just like affiliated with Spurs. So the amount of money they make, and I think Man United knew what they were doing with Park Ji-sung, and then that's just set a trend I think from there. But yeah, I mean, just get like a Korean player on the bench. It might not get you many goals, but it'll get you a couple of 10 million pounds a year. So
you're spot on, Dobby, because I remember, for some reason it always sticks in my mind, but I think it was around 2002 time, Everton played, I think it was Fulham, so it was Lee Tier, who was from China,
I remember
was playing
this
for
guy,
Everton.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I think Inamoto was at Fulham. I want to say it was Inamoto. If I've got it wrong and it's someone else, then I do apologise. If it was another Asian player, but I think it was those two. Yeah, he did play Fulham, didn't he? I wonder if this was the get. I'm pretty sure it was Everton, Fulham, yeah. And it was like, so it set like a worldwide viewing figure record just because those two players were involved. And I think
no way.
Off the back of that is perhaps, I'm not saying Man United saw that and therefore decided to sign Park Ji-sung, but I mean, I think the trend after that came in for like, we can really, as a marketing tool, it's a really useful thing if we sign an Asian player.
Park Ji-sung was like high quality though. Like he was.
Yeah.
He wasn't just a shirt.
Oh yeah,
seller.
I mean,
like,
that is true.
That was maybe what made him better and why he was such a good shirt seller. He was literally like 2002 World Cup. He was one of the main sort of players in that tournament. Really.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I imagine he's got a nice trophy cabinet. I can't remember specifically what he won, but he was part of a successful side, wasn't he? So,
yeah, he'd always be the man in big games when he to mark out whoever was. I think he was like given the job of man marking Messi and that sort of thing. Like he'd always be.
Yeah.
Ferguson always loved him in the big games.
Yeah.
Going back to the selfie stick culture, I think I have to side with. I'm putting this down for Room 101, so maybe Dobby, you might have the casting vote here if Tricey's against.
Yeah, it's got to go for me. I mean, that is the one thing that I think going into the Premier League, as a Leeds fan, I don't think directly around me, given where my seat is, but with like stadium developments coming, and there's going to be a push to like make sure you're getting as much money corporate and as much money from tourism. I'm quite interested to see how the dynamic might change around Ellen Road, and if you might get a little
Yeah.
bit more of that. And it's something that I would like to avoid moving towards. Just out of like traditional reasons, nothing else other than that. So yeah, it can go in room 101 for me. I think we
I
need
can't imagine like
phones
tourist fans
confiscated
there.
upon arrival for me.
Yeah,
You've all got to hand your phone in, you get it back at the end.
they all go in a big plastic box behind the ticket office.
Yeah,
Everyone gets them back at the end.
yeah, I think
Oh, I
so.
love that. That's great. Final bit of correspondence that we had was this is quite controversial actually. A listener, Stephen, got in touch and said, talking about the '66 World Cup in the build-up to a major tournament for England, said it's overused.
Yeah,
What's your thoughts?
well, I can see this. I think the general hype train around England is unhelpful. I mean, is that sort of, perhaps that's not really connected, but
The
I
thing
can
that
get
I
on
always
board with
find
that, we're
funny,
talking some serious years, like.
55
Go on, Tricey, you carry
years,
on,
is
but
it
I
now?
can get on. Yeah, I mean, I can get on board with that. Like I think in other sports, like we forget these things a lot quicker, don't we? Like things bypass quite quickly. I know because football it has just been so long, and it is obviously the nation sport. But yeah, we're talking some serious years there. It's like Uruguay kind of going on about some of their initial because they're the first winners, weren't they? Uruguay,
yeah,
and they won it
They've
early
won
on a
it
couple of
twice, I
times.
think.
yeah, they did, yeah.
Yeah,
First
can't imagine
honour.
they have the same kind of like reliance on going back to it in their World Cup build-ups.
Actually,
So I get where it's coming from.
that's an interesting link because on a slightly, we're going off on a tangent here, but I've heard a lot recently about it's like like there's talk of England potentially hosting the 2030 World Cup, and then it gets dismissed in some quarters because people go, no, Argentina and Uruguay are hosting it that year because it's the 100th anniversary of the World Cup. And I'm just like, why is that a reason? That's not like a solo reason, as in no one can host the World Cup because it's 100 years since Uruguay hosted. I mean, does that mean that all World Cups in the future is going to be? Oh, it's the 100th anniversary for them this year. So, I mean, are we going to have to wait till 2066? It's a nonsense. I don't get that at all. Sorry, that's slightly different to what the initial correspondence was.
I think for me, I generally don't get on the bandwagon. Well, the past few years have been different because we've actually been good. But I used to get on the bandwagon about maybe 3 weeks before the tournament when the squad's announced and you hear football's coming home for the first time. And then everything about it is like 66. It's been,
Yeah.
30 years, 40 years, 50 years in our lifetime. And then I don't know, I just find it's too much a little bit. Like, I can bet my life that when Southgate announces his squad, there'll be some bookmaker who does England to win the tournament, new customers only at 66 to 1 and things like that. And it just becomes too sort of, we do cling on to it, and it's a bit cringy really when we've been sort of, is it 3 semi-final appearances since then or something like that, is it? Or
Yeah. It's if a club side won, like, how many World Cups have we been in now? I mean, it must be over 20 at least. I know they're every 4 years, but it's like, if a club side won one trophy in 20 seasons, they wouldn't expect to have a divine. They wouldn't be like every year thinking, oh, this is going to be the year. So, yeah, I feel like the ghost of 66 does plague us a bit when we go into these. 2006 was the worst one, when we actually had, like, in theory, a really good team. I think we're the bookmakers' favourites across Europe going into that tournament to win it. And the first game, you could just tell how tense everyone was because the pressure was on far too much. Like, I think as soon as we
was that a 1-0
off,
win against Trinidad or something like that, was it?
yeah, I think Paraguay was the first. Yeah, it was that group, right. Paraguay, Trinidad, and I just think, I remember even from like the kickoff, everyone just being like far too excited, like, and that's just watching at home. So Yeah, I'm kind of tempted on this one, boys. I don't know about you two.
I'm gonna say let's put it in. Let's chill out and until the first ball's kicked. Let's not mention '66 World Cup.
Yeah,
But pay respect to those that were there at the time and who won it for us.
Yeah, I mean they're unquestionably like the
I can get
legends
on
of the
board with
English
that.
game, aren't they? But
Yeah.
the weird thing for our lifetime as well is the best we've done in our lifetime is 2018, when I'd probably say there was less hype than ever before. Close to anyway.
Definitely.
Like no one went into
Yeah.
that tournament expecting us to do that well. So yeah, I think that's a good one.
Yeah, I can get on board with you too. I can go with that. I mean, I understand where he's coming from. I've not actually thought of it like that myself before, but when it come to think of it, yeah, completely get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, mine's kind of linked to a correspondence, but it wasn't actually in response to this topic. It was just sent to me by a friend, Ben, who listens to the podcast, and it gave us an idea or like a suggestion of what we could talk about, and it did make me think that is actually probably a link to like a Room 101, and he basically said. He put requesting for a topic to be covered on the podcast. So teams who should not be allowed to be promoted into the Premierships, teams who bring nothing to the Prem. And his suggestions were first thoughts Norwich, Fulham, and Reading. And when I read that, I was like, that kind of really does fit the theme of what we kind of talk about, and definitely fits my ideas
Your
of
views.
them teams. Yeah, so I thought that's a good one to share, and I'd back that as going into Room 101. West Brom as well, get them in there. West Brom, Norwich, Fulham, and Reading. Get 20 years away. You're not allowed up. Sort yourselves out. Come back again when you're going to give it a fair crack.
Come back with a proper plan when you're fit and ready.
With a better attitude, a proper plan, and then we'll let you have a crack at it.
Your view is that if you come up and you go down straight away, you should be banished for a few years until you're ready to come up and stay up.
Not entirely. I think with the teams that we're highlighting, I think for 10 years now, it's just it's like Rotherham in between Championship and League One. Absolute no man's land. Just up and down, up and down. It's like, well, if you're gonna go up, make an attempt to stay up. Stop just being in this limbo of not Championship but not Premier League and wasting everybody's time. So, and Rotherham, they can go in, but for the Championship and League One, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a Championship team? Because if you do, you're gonna have to start acting like one. You can't just rely on the same players who took you down two times the last 4 years. And it's just the same when Norwich. They came up, didn't they, the other year? They know what they're doing. It's all financially motivated, but they came up and didn't spend £500,000 on God knows who.
Yeah.
Went down quite comfortably. Kept the same players, and are going to come back up. And if they just repeat that next season, you just think.
Why is it always Norwich that come up? Norwich always come up in this conversation, and maybe if there's any Norwich listeners, supporters, please do just get in touch and tell it. Why do you think your club always comes up in this conversation? Because it does seem to be very Norwich focused.
I seem to bring them up a bit, and I think it is for reasons like this. I don't know. They need to just have a long, hard think about who they want to be.
I don't know if they've ever stayed up a bit. That's the thing. I think they've been. Oh no, they did stay up. No, they stayed up when Hooper and. Wes Houlihan, that sort of team. I think they stayed up a couple of years, didn't they?
Didn't he?
Yeah, so I'm wrong about that. But I think every other year they've been in the Premier League since in the 2000s. Sorry, not when it first, because they finished third, I think, in the first one. But yeah, the last few they've often been West Brom are the same, aren't they? Just yo-yo. This is what I fear Newcastle are becoming, though. So I can't really criticise this model too much because we're on the verge of it.
We're not even talking 5 years with some of these teams. We're talking 20 years.
Yeah.
West Brom, I'm thinking, as long as I've been watching football, I couldn't, I don't know. It's just been in and out, literally, hasn't it? As the fans say when they celebrate, boing boing, just because it's literally up and down, It shouldn't be allowed.
Can you remember that year when they finished mid-table and they had Lukaku and stuff like that?
Oh, that was a good team, wasn't it? Yeah.
Strange, that era of West Brom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shane Long.
Yeah,
Used
but
for Columbus.
That's
you know
good
what
though,
I'd throw
Dobby.
in
I
there
think
with it? Sorry, I was just going to
we
say,
going back to your
not a
point.
team,
Go on.
but I'd put in there on the same kind of wavelength, Leroy Fer. I think he's had about 4 relegations with 4 different teams.
Unfortunately, Leroy Fer
is
does
not allowed.
epitomise. He is the human embodiment of yo-yo club. Like he has become.
If you
that.
sign Leroy Fer, you're in a relegation battle. Like he's gone down out of his 6 seasons in the Premier League. He's gone down like 5 times. Like football is driven by data nowadays. Surely any data analysis just looks at Leroy Fer and go, we're off down if we sign him. Like we've got an 80% chance of going down.
Like, if he signed for, like, say, Arsenal, and suddenly Arsenal are scrapping to avoid relegation at the end of the following year, they just looked around and were like, Leroy.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry that I went off a bit there, but yeah, I like the idea that Ben put forward, and I kind of share his thoughts on that. That it is frustrating that these teams kind of have these stints, but don't really provide much and aren't that competitive and seem quite happy with that kind of role. So yeah, I could get on board with that. Let them think it out for a few years.
You make me laugh though, because like I'm thinking in your head, your ideal Premier League is essentially games close to Leeds and then Arsenal and Spurs.
Yeah, Yorkshire,
Arsenal.
the North East, a bit of the North West, and Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea. That's it.
Yeah, anywhere on a direct train. Yeah, I think you're right, to be honest. I mean, yeah, it's probably quite a biased opinion.
Where do Southampton sit in this model, Dobby? Are they sort of Premier League stable now?
Yeah, they're respectable, them guys. Yeah, I'm happy with Southampton. I mean, I'd much sooner, swap them for like Barnsley. Don't get me wrong, but they've earned the place. Brighton as well. Like Brighton, as much as again we've kind of got at them I have as well a few times. Like the model that they've kind of taken to get to where they are from where they were. Like you can't at all doubt they've had a real vision, haven't they? And they've followed
at least
through
with
with
Brighton, I kind of feel they're quite an original club, and I don't get what I mean by that. Like, but I just feel like they've got a sense of identity there that
definitely,
some of the others that you mentioned perhaps don't. That sounds really bad.
Yeah.
Fulham at least have got Craven Cottage, but I think if you take that unique ground away from them, then they're falling into the same
But I guess
pile.
just thinking about that, if Brighton, who at the time when this kind of like journey started for them in like League 2, League 1, weren't even playing in their own state, were at the Athletics ground, they didn't have a great squad. If they can put like a 10-year strategy and structure together and get to where they are now, and they've done really well, then I just think the likes of like West Brom and Norwich, who have got such a good platform already, and yet just really haven't built on that in 10 years, I think that's the difference there, isn't it? Teams who come from nothing and like literally build a new culture and a new identity. Like the Brighton of today is not all recognisable. Like to a Brighton fan it would be, but for like us it's just wow, it's such an impressive club now compared to what it was. But West Brom just seem to have been the exact same people for 20 years, really. Maybe a West Brom fan would disagree with me. I'm sure they would. So.
Well, I'd be interested what their views on it
more.
are, to be fair. Like, are they
It's recruitment, though, isn't it? I think really, like if you were going to live in the Midlands and you were good enough to play in the Premier League, you'd play for Villa or Wolves at the minute, wouldn't you?
True.
Yeah.
And if you were good at, if you were to play for not a top team, sort of in the south, you'd play for Brighton or Southampton. You wouldn't, you wouldn't. No disrespect to Norwich or wherever, you wouldn't necessarily move there, would you? Like that's why like QPR attracted players, didn't they? I know they did Shocking, but they always attracted players.
Isn't it? Yeah, they always got them.
That is true. Yeah, that's a good point.
No, I to be honest, if it was down to me on my own, I'd kind of be half tempted to put this in, Dobby, because I just like the comedic value to your argument, but I just think
Dobby's Premier League.
as Newcastle are in danger of being in this position in 10 years, of just being a yo-yo club at best, then unfortunately I have to give it the thumbs down. So I'll hand it over to Tricey to complete the vote.
Well, I'm going to actually agree with Dobby, because I think I'd just like to see how his ideal Premier League takes shape, like 10 years down the line.
We'll be covered.
Barnsley.
That's the West Brom
30.
fans lost from our list base now.
if Dobby can't stop off at Wakefield and have a pint before, it's not a Premier League club in his eyes.
Yeah, maybe that'll be our big finale episode, just unveiling Dobby's ideal dream Premier League table, full of northernness and gritty football teams.
Anyone with a nice stadium don't make the cut.
Yeah.
Anything that's too similar.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. That was a good one. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that to the panel, Dobby. I was just going to throw in one last one from correspondence from Jason, who obviously regular listeners will know he was on the Christmas special with us, giving us a lowdown on football in America. He's suggested half and half scarves, especially on derby days. Now, I get the feeling this is a pretty unanimous decision across the board. I just get the feeling that the feeling against half and half scarves is very negative in general.
Yeah, for me, put it in. Like that, I don't even need to elaborate, really. Just straight in for me.
The only thing I would add about them is, and I'm not in any way putting this as a defence of half and half scarves, but the only thing I never understand is people talk about it like it sort of shows what's wrong with modern football, and I always think I can't remember a time when they didn't exist. I swear, even going to my first game as a kid, like Exeter City versus Leyton Orient, I think there'll have been half and half scarves on sale, and maybe not. I don't see any outside Newcastle's ground, but I just thought they're a bit more widespread. It seems that people talk about them as if they've only just cropped up in the last few years, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
I think for me, I'd agree that I would put them in there because, yeah, I would. But at the same time, like I think depending on the kind of who they're aiming for with them and who's buying them, like for a kid, it's quite a nice souvenir if you're a FA Cup third round and you support Scunthorpe and you're hosting Chelsea. It's something to remember the day by, and I can get on board with that. I can understand that. That's a nice kind of like momentum for the day. Memento, is that the word? But yeah, I think in general though, I've seen too many pictures on social media that just don't make me feel too well. So
they must
we'll
get
rid of them
as well. The guys who are selling them from like old school fans, they must get. I don't know. I just assume they get abuse.
I see a few sometimes. I just tut like a shake my head and tut.
That's the correct reaction to have, I think. Well, I think that's pretty unanimous, Jason, that we were all agreeing that half and half scarves are going into Football Room 101. Well, should we talk? Does anyone have any suggestions that they want to themselves put forward tonight, boys, before the panel to potentially put into Room 101?
Yeah, I'll chuck one in, and this is something that really bothers me. Like I'm quite a traditional in terms of shirt numbers. I don't. If a keeper is wearing anything other than 1 or 13, I'm a bit not. That's maybe a 20 something I can deal with as a third choice.
23 is a World Cup third choice.
Yeah, I don't mind that. But when Rui Patricio at Wolves is number 11 and he's taking an outfield shirt, that is just wrong. Sheffield Wednesday went through an era a few years ago where their second choice keeper was number 2.
I mean,
that is just absolutely
awful. I got a mate who's a Sheffield Wednesday fan, and I think we went to a game together, and I said to him on the way back, I was like, I'm looking at the programme of their squad list, and it was just the worst. It was just like so messed up. I don't understand what's gone on there. Why? Yeah, was it Wildsmith or which goalkeeper? Yeah, there's a goalkeeper number 2.
That would just ring a bell.
And there was like a strike. I can't remember which striker it was. It was number 5, and
Jordan Rhodes was number 6, I think.
Fuck! I mean that whole squad list was an absolute shambles, and that alone has won you this argument for me. I think I completely agree.
The signs were there that where they are today was going to happen when they were doing shit like that a couple of years ago. We should have known there was a point deduction and a relegation battle on the way.
But I think that was all stemmed from Chansiri, though. I think he has lucky numbers that he wants certain players to wear.
I don't think their fans are happy with it either, because it did just look ridiculous. What are your views on like? I'm trying to think of which eccentric goalkeepers would wear 99. Like, did Schiller ever wear 99 or one of those? You know, those
Donnarumma does, doesn't he, for AC Milan?
Yeah.
Although that is actually his date of birth as well, so that's difficult. That one.
Yeah.
It works both ways. When Edgar Davids wore number 1, that was also an outfielder wearing number 1 is as bad as a keeper wearing. I swear he did that at Barnet. Yeah, he made himself number 1.
Yeah.
Back when Josh was pulling on his tread.
Pulling his on his hair. That's when Edgar Davids refused to go to away days.
Did he really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he refused to do away games.
I must admit, I need to obviously catch up on the story of Edgar Davids at Barnet, because I didn't know he wore number 1. I didn't know that he refused to play away games. I'm starting to see why it didn't work out. I'm
certain that it was when they were in the National League, and for example, when they were playing Gateshead, as player coach, he wouldn't be there. And he just would be taking it, and he'd have left himself out of the squad.
Was he on the ferry back to Amsterdam for a weekend, just whenever they had an away game?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Anything outside the M25, he was like, "Nah, not for me."
Delegate.
He's the opposite to me.
Who would have thought you'd have had so much in common, Dominic? I mean, if he's him wearing number 1, any outfield player wearing number 1. I don't even like outfield players wearing 13 that much. So yeah, I'm with you 100% on that, Trice. I think that's a great selection. I'm trying to think. Are there any other examples of like terrible squad numbering down the years?
I mean,
William Gallas was number 10 for Arsenal.
He was one of them.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's disgraceful.
That started like a hatred for Arsenal for me. That era.
Really?
Where he was sat on the pitch crying after they conceded a last-minute penalty against Birmingham. Yeah.
Well, just like he had number 10, he had mercurial vapours, and it just wasn't right. Like centre half for Arsenal should be. Yeah, I mean Tony Adams must have been spitting feathers at that.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah, I remember. On a side note, I remember Khalid Boularus wearing number 9 for Chelsea, which was equally disgraceful. Yeah, I think it's got to go in.
Not right.
Squad nuts. Players wearing wrong squad numbers have to go into Football Room 101.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. Get it in there.
Yeah.
Cheers, lads.
So, yeah, no, that's definitely a good one. I've got a couple, and one for me actually. Thinking about it is new kits being brought out every year. What was ever wrong with a new kit being every couple of years?
Choice, Dobby.
There's just too much. I know there's just so much money in it, but there's just no need, like, for anybody.
Your home one used to be like the evening number, didn't it? And away one used to be like the odd number, sort of every other year.
Yeah.
Bring that back. That was.
And now you've got free kits every year, haven't you? Coming out. Crazy. Just absolutely no need. You just can't keep up. Like, you have a nice kit and it's gone the season after.
Particularly when they're like 60 quid as well. Like in the Premier League, like that's how much Newcastle's is. It's like it's a joke, really.
Yeah.
60.
It's to wear it for one season, and it's a season when
black and white stripes since.
Yeah, exactly. It's a joke. I mean, I've just started buying the replica shirts because for that reason, really. It wasn't sort of any, it was just thought I'd just go for something that's like I know is going to be hopefully relatively timeless, like I can still wear in 5 years' time.
Yeah, so that was one of mine, and it sounds like you two are in agreement with that. Let's get it back to being every couple of years.
Yeah, very much on board. Straightforward.
See, mine were always going to be like kind of like reminiscent of better days, which I think is just my personality with football, which I will try and move away from. So another one's down that line as well. But what I think we should bring back, what we should get rid of even, is players walking out of the tunnel at the beginning of a game. Yes. I want a run out back.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Oh, Dobby, I'm with you wholeheartedly. All this is making me. This is just going to make me say my next suggestion's going to be let's bring back the Premiership on ITV and scrap Match of the Day. I'm getting to that stage. But no, I completely agree. Like the handshake formality is just a nonsense. Like it's given us one funny moment of Evra and Suarez not shaking hands, or one like interesting moment, and maybe John Terry Wayne Bridge. But apart from that, it just offers nothing. The players they're not going to show any more respect because they've shook out. It's absolute bollocks, and I much prefer. I'm with you the old days. Get them sprinting out to the end that they're at.
Yeah.
Get them with a few foot, dribbling a ball or goalkeeper smashing.
Doing high knees as they come out the tunnel, and centre halves going for an invisible header.
Yeah.
Oh, bring it back.
So that was my other reminiscent one.
Maybe it is just this.
I like
is
that.
An era
That's
that we
Premier League
more.
nostalgia.
But yeah. I mean, they just. It was. I always remember it was like a sort of. Originally, it was like a Champions League thing as well, where they'd stand in a line, the two teams, and that kind of that made the Champions League more special as well. So it made sense. But just doing it for every single league game, I'm with you on that. I'm wholeheartedly. That's the suggestion I've agreed with most so far, I think.
Brilliant. Right. Well,
that could actually come back through. Dobby, that could actually be the only one which suggests tonight that actually comes back through COVID. That's maybe the good thing that COVID's going to bring is that the handshake is going to die before the start of the game, and players are going to jog out and do headers from the tunnel.
Yeah. Well, I thought this.
I want some balls kicked into the stands.
I remember before we had lockdown, the Premier League said, we're scrapping the handshake ritual at the start of the games for this weekend's fixtures. And I was like, brilliant. They're all going to be sprinting out again, old school, and just racing to the goal. And then I think they just still do the line-up thing without the handshakes. But yeah, hopefully we can get rid of that long term. I mean, I almost want to see them go full Sunday League and just have like one player taking corners and 6 of them just waiting in the box to smash it past the keeper. That would be the ultimate. That would be the next step for me.
Oh, that's good. What about you then, Jack? You got any that you're gonna chuck in there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna struggle. I'm still thinking about the kits as well. That's really annoyed. It's just annoyed me, the thought of having a kit every year. So I'm not sure I can beat that. But my suggestion was going to be, and this is a certain type of football fan, and I suppose it all comes back to the notion we've discussed on this podcast before about the supposed big six, and certain clubs thinking they've got a sort of divine right to the top echelons of English football. But my suggestion is going to be like football fans who are dismissive of certain cups, particularly the league.
Dobby.
I didn't think this one through. It might not win support on this panel, but I think particularly the League Cup gets a shoddy time in like a sort of a raw deal in a lot of discussions with fans, and like fans talk about it as if like it's some sort of, like it's embarrassing to win it. It's still a cup. It's still better. I don't see why this idea of winning a cup that isn't as prestigious as some of the other cups or trophies on offer. Like, why does it therefore it matters nothing? It's like there seems to be this football fan that's developed nowadays that thinks the Champions League matters, the Premier League matters, and everything else is irrelevant and doesn't matter. And even international football shit, as we keep being told all the time as well. And I just think, obviously I'm a Newcastle fan. Perhaps that's had an influence on this because we haven't won a trophy since 1969. But I just think what I would give to see Newcastle just win a League Cup or just get to a League Cup final. And like the Europa League as well. The Europa League gets like laughed at and slagged off by fans of clubs. Some clubs who would fucking be lucky to be in Europe. Like,
yeah,
and they still see it as like, it's sort of an embarrassing trophy to win, or it's not worthy of our club. And I don't know if you can tell, it just winds me up.
Do you know what I find really weird on that, Jack, right? It's particularly the Europa League. Like, I'm thinking Everton, West Ham, them type of clubs. I've possibly even thrown Newcastle in there when you got in there. it was an achievement for you to play in Europe, but rather than take the competition seriously, they rest their players to focus on qualifying for 7th again next year. Does that make sense? Like, the amount of times, like, a team has finished 7th and they think, oh, we're going to rest players in the Europa League because it gives us a better chance of qualifying for the Europa League. It's like, makes no fucking sense. And that happens with like domestic cup competitions as well. Like Newcastle, when was the last time they won a trophy, Jack? But they rest players in the League Cup and the FA Cup. Like you can't complain about not winning a trophy and then tolerate, resting players because we've got a big game and we're going to try finish 17th this year. Like that's I can't get my head around that.
No, and it's like surely football clubs exist to win. If they don't exist to eventually at some point win a trophy or like get promoted, but then I suppose once you're in what if you're like a regular Premier League club? What are you existing for if you're not trying to at some point win a trophy or get close to a trophy? Like, are you just happy to sit in mid-table or stay up every year? That's not really an achievement. And yeah, I agree. I think the Leicester City fans were particularly pissed off a few years ago because I remember they had a great chance at winning the League Cup and Claude Puel made like 10 or 9 changes for a League Cup quarter-final and they lost. And he never really recovered from that, really. So I think perhaps the majority of football fans, like, football fans like us, probably shrewd enough to this and would agree. But I just think there's still a section of like fans who just, perhaps it's because their team often win the top, what they would consider the top trophies. They just doesn't seem to matter to them as much.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Like I get playing the Champions League and stuff like that is a massive pull now, but it's changed a little bit, hasn't it? The past few years, it used to be sort of 2010 era. Particularly Arsenal, Spurs fans, just finishing 4th was good enough alone. But now, the Premier League's so competitive where like anyone can there's about 8 teams that could probably finish 4th this season, and it's sort of like you need a bit more than that now. Like you need to finish 4th one year, but the next year you've got to sort of look to win a trophy or something. I think you can't just be content with finishing 4th.
Yeah, I remember as well there was that Manchester United season under Mourinho where they won the Europa League and the League Cup, and obviously I don't expect all Manchester United fans to be happy with like if that was their long-term aim was just to win a League Cup or Europa League. That's obviously not fitting with the stature of that club. But I just think like it's some of that, if fans were looking at that and thinking, oh, that's nothing, it's like, well, it's better than winning nothing. It's still a trophy at the end of the day, whatever club you're from. So
yeah, I think my traditionalist views will support this argument, as you would, just because I would definitely go along the lines of a good, like, everybody loves a good cup run. Everyone likes to see, like, I'll get on board some like cup success when it's their team directly. I think you're right though. If it's not maybe directly their team, people can be quite dismissive of certain tournaments and not really that engaged with them. Probably like myself included. Look at like the League Cup. Would I ever sit and watch a League Cup game nowadays? Probably not really. Maybe the final and the semi-finals. But I can't say I'm like that motivated to sit down and watch it. Whereas I probably would on a Saturday afternoon watch 2 teams in the bottom half of the Premier League play each other, which has probably got absolutely nothing riding on it. And I guess that's just the way everyone's gone. But I do. I think it is a shame just how, and I think it's the position it's got to now has just been so money influenced, and also I guess how accessible football is on television and the European tournaments that the kind of domestic cups and some of the lesser cups, well, not even lesser, like Europa League, like you say, are just kind of disregarded a bit. But for me, I'd love to even just have a good run in one of them and get to like the point where you're genuinely being optimistic that you can get something out of it. I can't remember the last time I've been in that position, so would definitely enjoy the cups and would take that success over. I think you've got a good point, like you say, Tricey. Everyone's too worried about securing that position again for the next season to focus on the season that they've still got stuff to play for in, and I just think that's a bit mental.
Yeah, you're worried about just existing rather than actually trying to live, really, aren't you?
Yeah.
I think Room 101 as a topic is definitely going to bring out to the listeners how much us three can moan about not the big issues in football.
That is true. I mean, we haven't even got on to the reformed proposals for the Champions League yet, which has already taken up. We've
Good
discussed.
grief.
I know. We've talked about a similar thing with the Super League potentially before. So yeah, you're probably right, Tricey. I think we need to rein it in a bit, but.
I've got to put myself in Room 101 for just living in the past. I think I just need to realise that it's not 2004 anymore. The world's moved on. A lot's changed. I've got to move on as well. I think I would literally rewind the clock. I just wake up every morning and just watch Premier League years prior to 2005. But that's just not how the world works. So I do apologise for some of my very old traditional. Imagine what I'll be like in 30 years. Jesus.
Yeah, I think we'll still be watching Premier League years, won't we? Knowing us through. But you can't put yourself into Room 101, Dobby, because then that means you won't be allowed to, you won't be back on next week. So we need to prevent that.
I've got to be more open-minded though. That's what I've learned from today's podcast. I feel like I've done a real injustice as well to some. Like Reading got a mention earlier, and I was just thinking they've done nothing to deserve to be in that category. I can't believe they were mentioned alongside of Norwich and West Brom and Rotherham. They can replace Reading in that category.
That was your Anne Robinson putting the Welsh into Room 101.
Yeah, if you are going to give us abuse, make sure you just in the comments target your abuse to Dobby and not me and Joe.
We do not.
If you are from Norwich,
as individuals, we do not speak for the Playing Out from the Bar podcast. I mean, I feel that's almost a good point to end it there, boys. Unless anyone else has any further suggestions you want to throw in, or have we done enough damage for today?
No, I'm gonna quit now before I say something I'm gonna regret. So
before you get cancelled.
Yeah.
Do you want a Zags update? I've got a bit of a Zags for you.
We'd always love a Zags update. Try the latest from our friends in America.
So it's another loss, but we're on a 4-game losing streak now. But I'm going to actually read to you the match report to see if you and the listeners can make any sense of it. I think I need a bit of help here, really. So, okay, so the Broncos, and then it's brackets 250, 230 in the West Coast Conference. What do you think that means? In my head, I'm thinking
formation.
That's 2 wins, 5 defeats, 0 draws, 2 wins, 3 defeats, 0 draws in the league. Do you know what I mean? I think they're giving total and league there. I don't know. It confuses me, stuff like this.
What does it total, what does it total up to? Again, 2, 5, 3 and 5.
2-5. So the first one's 250, and then the next set of numbers is 230 brackets West Coast Conference.
7 and so 12. Yeah, that makes no. Yeah,
I think that's maybe their league form,
record,
their total form and league form. Yeah.
Yeah.
So scored the first goal in the 78th minute when Thomas assisted Matuka. Had his first goal of the season just 2 minutes later. Javier Ruiz assisted Caden Buckley for his second goal of the season. The Bulldogs, then more numbers. So the Bulldogs are 280050. I feel like I'm reading a phone number.
It's like the Yellow Pages. This book.
Yeah. Weren't able to get a goal in the final 10 minutes. Long story short, that didn't make sense. Long story short, the Zags have basically had 10 shots at goal and not scored, so concerning there really.
Disappointing.
We've had 2 wins all season, a lot more defeats. I'm starting to struggle a little bit now. I'm thinking,
if only we could understand those figures,
we'd
perhaps know if it was time to sack the manager, but we can't
work
out what
that
form
mean?
actually means.
I might have to do a bit of research. I'm thinking that's what it is. 2 wins, 8 defeats, 0 draws.
Yeah. If there are any listeners who understand the I don't know, the record system in American university football, then please do get in touch.
It's like impossible to find a fucking league table. Just you go on like a group site and it's just loads of numbers.
That's like a thing.
Is it not Sky Sports?
They do like they just don't do a point system. It's not in their culture.
So like that's the main sort of match report, but then they've got like this stat bracket afterwards, and it says like overall 2/8. So I think that's 2 wins, 8 defeats. But then God knows what this is. It's a PCT score of 0.200. Does that make any sense to you?
PTC score.
PCT score 0.200.
Oh my God, we'll have to work that out.
Someone's got to Google that. If you get in touch with us, let us know what that means.
PTC.
Yeah, so 4-game losing streak. I mean, they're not doing great at the minute, but we're keeping the faith. So,
I mean,
up the Zags.
Did have change of management?
Well, are you already at that point, Dobby? Do you think?
Yeah. No. Give it till end of season.
I mean, I did have a bit more chat with Jason about. He texted me the other day actually saying that Gonzaga, your boys Gonzaga, are favourites to win March Madness, which I think is like a big university comp. But then he said it was in basketball, so it's the basketball team, not the football
don't care about
team.
that, do we?
But well, I said at least they're winning something because their form's not been great this season. Perhaps they're just bringing in talented basketballers and the football's just an afterthought. But I don't know. That suits us better. I think it's more fitting that we support someone who's struggling a bit.
If they get to a 7-game losing streak, then I think we've got to reassess our position. I think we have like a 3-month withdrawal
I think
period.
I say we have a do or die game where we watch the live stream, and if they lose, we agree to consign them to room 101. But if they win, we're like, don't know, buy virtual season tickets or some memorabilia.
We've got to stick by. I mean, you can't change your club, can you? Your club chooses you, so we're stuck with them now.
If only that club did choose us, they were just part of Tricey's random draw.
Just let me know when you want me to get the random generator.
When you want that back out. Can't wait till that reappears. No, I think that's we've covered a lot there, boys. Well done. We've certainly started to tackle the mammoth task of setting up our own football room 101, which I'm excited about. I think we've put in some stuff that definitely needs to be booted from the game for good. So yeah, I've enjoyed that. I think that was probably one of our more productive spells in the virtual bar. But I'll see you both on the next episode, I guess. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Speak soon, lads. Cheers.
Cheers, boys.